Imagine waking up every day full of energy, ready to take on your goals without feeling lazy or stuck. In this audiobook, you'll learn practical steps to stop procrastinating, start acting immediately, and build unstoppable momentum that transforms your life. From simple morning routines that ignite energy to strategies that reinforce productive habits, every chapter gives you actionable advice you can use right now. You'll discover how small, consistent actions beat fleeting motivation, how moving your body triggers mental alertness, and how planning before sleep sets you up for success. By the end, you'll have clear methods to manage energy, eliminate distractions, and create habits that last. Stick with this guide, implement these strategies, and watch your productivity and personal growth soar. Subscribe to Audiobook every day for more life-changing audiobooks that help you take control, build discipline, and achieve long-term success. Number 1. Morning routines that ignite energy. Waking up with energy, focus, and purpose is not a matter of chance. It is a matter of deliberate practice. Every morning sets the tone for the entire day. How one begins the day often dictates how productive, motivated, and resilient they will feel. People often underestimate the power of a strong morning routine, thinking that success comes from big moments or sudden bursts of inspiration. The truth is, unstoppable success is built quietly in the early hours, long before the world demands your attention. A morning routine that ignites energy is the foundation for personal discipline, mental clarity, and unstoppable momentum. It is not about rigid rules or extreme practices. It is about creating small, intentional actions that prime the body and mind to perform at their best. The first step in designing a morning routine that truly energizes is recognizing that mornings are a blank slate. The moment you wake up, you are given a gift, time that belongs entirely to you before external obligations, stress, and distractions invade. Using this time wisely allows you to control your day instead of reacting to it. The body and mind need a signal to shift from rest to action. A simple yet effective method is to create a sequence of activities that naturally awaken the senses and engage the body. Begin with movement. Sitting still after waking only prolongs grogginess. Standing up, stretching, or performing a few simple exercises helps increase blood flow, oxygenates the brain, and communicates to your nervous system that the day has begun. Even 5 minutes of deliberate movement can make a noticeable difference in mental clarity and energy levels. The goal is not to exhaust yourself, but to gently awaken your system so that it is ready for focused thought and action. Hydration is another cornerstone of an energizing morning. After hours of sleep, the body is dehydrated, and this can contribute to feelings of fatigue, sluggishness, or foggy thinking. Drinking a glass of water immediately after waking is a simple yet profound action that replenishes the body and signals to the brain that it is time to operate at full capacity. Adding a squeeze of lemon or a pinch of salt can further enhance hydration and electrolyte balance. The principle is clear: small actions can have disproportionate effects. By prioritizing hydration first thing in the morning, you are setting a precedent of care and attentiveness toward your body, which translates into sustained energy throughout the day. Mental focus is equally critical. A powerful morning routine incorporates a brief period of reflection or intentional thought. This could be as simple as writing down 3 priorities for the day, reciting affirmations, or practicing a few minutes of mindful breathing. These actions serve as mental anchors, preventing the mind from being hijacked by anxiety, external pressures, or reactive thinking. By consciously deciding what to focus on, you are exercising control over your day, establishing mental clarity, and ensuring that your energy is directed toward meaningful action rather than wasted on distractions. The effectiveness of these mental exercises is amplified when combined with physical activity, creating a holistic activation of both body and mind. Nutrition cannot be ignored. The food you consume in the morning is fuel, not just for survival, but for optimal performance. A breakfast that balances protein, healthy fats, and complex carbohydrates can provide sustained energy and prevent mid-morning crashes. Avoiding excessive sugar, refined carbohydrates, or caffeine-dependent routines reduces the risk of energy spikes, followed by inevitable declines. Preparing a simple, wholesome meal or snack can be a form of self-respect and discipline. This principle is not about rigid dieting or perfection. It is about understanding that energy is cumulative. When the body receives consistent, quality nutrition in the morning, it supports cognitive performance, emotional stability, and the capacity to engage with challenges productively. Creating a predictable structure for your morning is essential. Habits thrive on repetition. The brain craves patterns because they reduce the need for constant decision-making, which can drain energy. By establishing a reliable morning routine, you free up mental bandwidth for creative thinking, problem-solving, and productive work. The routine does not need to be long or complicated. Even a 30-minute sequence of movement, hydration, reflection, and nutrition can be transformative when performed consistently. The key is to treat the morning as a sacred block of time dedicated to priming yourself for success. This commitment signals to both your conscious and subconscious mind that your energy, time, and focus are valuable. Discipline is the underlying force that transforms a morning routine into an engine of unstoppable success. Motivation alone is unreliable. It fluctuates based on mood, environment, and circumstances. Discipline, on the other hand, is a skill that can be trained. Waking up at the same time each day, performing the same energy-boosting rituals, and resisting the temptation to linger in bed or scroll through distractions are exercises in self-mastery. Each morning is an opportunity to strengthen your willpower and reinforce the belief that you control your actions. Over time, this discipline compounds, creating a momentum that carries forward into every aspect of life, making laziness, procrastination, and indecision increasingly difficult to sustain. Real-world application of a morning routine requires planning and foresight. Preparation the night before greatly increases the likelihood of executing your routine successfully. Lay out clothes, prepare breakfast ingredients, and create a simple checklist of the actions you will perform upon waking. The fewer decisions you need to make in the first minutes of your day, the more energy you can conserve for meaningful tasks. This proactive approach is a principle borrowed from the most successful individuals throughout history. They understand that the early hours are prime for self-mastery and strategic preparation, and they guard them with deliberate intent. Another critical aspect is leveraging the senses to awaken fully. Exposure to natural light immediately after waking regulates circadian rhythms, boosts alertness, and improves mood. Stepping outside or opening windows allows sunlight to signal to your body that it is time to be active. Sound can also be a powerful tool. Listening to uplifting music, spoken affirmations, or the sound of your own voice in reflection exercises can energize the mind and set a tone of positivity and focus. The principle is straightforward. Design your environment to support wakefulness and vitality rather than relying on willpower alone. Accountability can further strengthen a morning routine. Sharing your intentions with a partner, friend, or coach can increase commitment and consistency. External accountability reinforces internal discipline, creating a feedback loop that accelerates habit formation. Tracking your routine in a journal or an app allows you to observe progress, note energy patterns, and make adjustments as necessary. Awareness of patterns and results enhances self-control and reinforces the intrinsic motivation to maintain the routine, even when the body or mind resists. Finally, reflection and gratitude amplify the benefits of a morning routine. Taking a moment to acknowledge accomplishments, set intentions, or express gratitude primes the mind for resilience and emotional stability. Success is not only about output, but also about mindset. A focused, energized, and emotionally aligned individual is better equipped to navigate challenges, seize opportunities, and maintain consistent progress. Morning routines that ignite energy are therefore not merely physical rituals. They are comprehensive strategies for cultivating strength, clarity, and unstoppable momentum. In conclusion, a morning routine that ignites energy is a non-negotiable tool for anyone committed to personal growth, discipline, and success. It is the intersection of movement, hydration, mental clarity, nutrition, environment, and consistency. Each component reinforces the other, creating a cumulative effect that transforms the start of the day into a launchpad for excellence. By waking up with intention, priming the body and mind, and committing to actionable steps, you set the stage for productivity, focus, and resilience. Laziness is overcome not through occasional bursts of effort, but through repeated, intentional practice that becomes an unshakable part of daily life. Mastering your mornings is the first step to mastering your life. And each day you execute this routine is another day closer to unstoppable success. Every sunrise is an invitation to rise with it, fully energized, fully focused, and fully prepared to claim what you are capable of achieving. This chapter alone is more than just guidance. It is a blueprint for transforming mornings into a personal engine of power, discipline, and unrelenting progress. By committing to these practices, energy becomes a habit and success becomes inevitable. Number 2. Eliminate distractions before starting day. Distractions are one of the biggest hidden barriers to productivity and personal growth. They appear in subtle ways, creeping into the early hours before you even realize what's happening. A moment spent scrolling aimlessly through a phone, checking emails impulsively, or letting the mind drift without direction might feel harmless, but these small lapses of attention add up, sapping energy and momentum before the day has properly begun. Eliminating distractions before starting the day is about creating a clear mental and physical environment that allows focus, clarity, and energy to flourish. It is not about perfection or rigidity, but about taking control of what enters your mind, what commands your attention, and how you begin your actions each morning. The first step in reducing distractions is acknowledging their sources. Technology is often the most immediate and potent. Phones, notifications, social media, and instant messaging create a constant pull on attention. They stimulate dopamine, momentarily making you feel engaged, but they also fragment focus and drain mental energy. The morning is a critical time for the brain. It is when cognitive capacity is highest, creativity is fresh, and decision-making is at its peak. Allowing notifications and digital noise to dominate this time undermines potential energy and focus. Choosing to delay checking messages, emails, or social media until after essential morning routines is not avoidance. It is a strategic decision to protect the most valuable period of the day. Physical environment also contributes to distractions. Cluttered spaces, unorganized work areas, or even poorly arranged bedrooms can create subtle tension and cognitive overload. The brain reacts to disorder with stress signals, often unconsciously prompting avoidance behaviors or procrastination. Taking a few minutes each night to prepare a clean, organized environment ensures that mornings begin with clarity. Simple acts like setting out work materials, arranging a clear desk, or preparing breakfast items remove unnecessary friction. When the physical world is orderly, the mind can function with greater precision, concentration, and calm, allowing energy to be directed toward meaningful tasks rather than dealing with chaos. Mental discipline is equally crucial in minimizing distractions. The mind is naturally prone to wandering, imagining possibilities, or replaying past events, while reflection and planning have their place. Allowing unstructured thought patterns to dominate early hours weakens focus and creates stress. Intentional mental preparation helps visualization of key tasks, identifying top priorities, or mentally rehearsing the sequence of the morning routine are ways to anchor the mind. By deliberately directing thoughts, the brain is conditioned to concentrate on what matters first, reducing susceptibility to distraction. This process strengthens self-control and increases awareness of internal impulses that might otherwise lead to wasted time. Time structuring is another powerful strategy. Without clear boundaries, distractions easily fill empty spaces. Setting specific blocks for essential morning activities creates natural limits. For example, allocating the first hour after waking exclusively to physical movement, hydration, or reflective practice removes ambiguity and reduces the chance of being sidetracked. Timing creates accountability to oneself, a silent agreement that this period is non-negotiable. As with all disciplined practices, repetition builds habit, and habit reduces reliance on willpower alone. The brain becomes conditioned to expect focused action in these periods, decreasing susceptibility to distractions gradually over time. Noise management also contributes to focus. Sounds from television, radios, or household activity can disrupt mental clarity and make it harder to initiate meaningful tasks. Seeking a quiet environment, even for a short window of time, allows the mind to organize, prioritize, and prepare for the day. For those who live with others, communicating intentions and creating boundaries can prevent interruptions. Even simple actions like closing doors, using headphones for concentration, or designating a specific area for morning routines signal to the body and mind that a protected space exists for purposeful action. Protecting auditory space is often overlooked, yet it profoundly influences energy levels and focus. Another practical method is to reduce decision fatigue early in the day. The more choices made at the start, the more mental energy is consumed, leaving less for productive action. Simplifying morning decisions, what to wear, what to eat, and which tasks to start first, frees the mind to devote attention to high-impact activities. Using consistent patterns, such as having a predetermined breakfast, standardized exercise routine, or fixed reflection practices, conserves mental resources. When fewer decisions are required, the mind is less likely to seek distractions as a form of escape or comfort, and energy remains aligned with purposeful action. Digital hygiene is essential in modern life. Before waking, devices can be programmed to minimize interruptions, disabling non-essential notifications, silencing apps, and setting devices to airplane mode or do not disturb during morning routines ensures that focus is uninterrupted. Creating this technological boundary is not avoidance of information, it is creating space to act intentionally without being pulled in multiple directions simultaneously. By consciously choosing when and how to engage with technology, the morning becomes a protected period of high-value activity and energy is conserved for tasks that truly matter. Accountability systems reinforce distraction management. Informing a partner, friend, or mentor of personal intentions establishes external support for discipline. Reporting progress, sharing challenges, or simply declaring the commitment to a distraction-free morning adds layers of accountability that reinforce internal resolve. Tracking performance, whether through a journal, checklist, or app, allows observation of patterns. This monitoring provides insight into the triggers of distraction and highlights areas for adjustment. Awareness itself is a tool for reducing vulnerability to interruptions because recognizing patterns enables proactive intervention before they derail focus. Distraction elimination also involves cultivating the right mindset. Recognizing the morning as a high-leverage period reframes early actions as critical investments rather than routine obligations. When the mind values these hours appropriately, the temptation to engage in low-value activities diminishes. Each choice is approached with intention. Is this action aligned with purpose, or is it a distraction? Developing this habitual discernment strengthens focus, deepens discipline, and gradually transforms mornings into a launchpad for success. The more the brain internalizes the value of focused beginnings, the more natural distraction avoidance becomes. Physical cues can further anchor attention. Simple practices such as opening a window, stepping outside for fresh air, or performing deliberate stretching rituals signal the body and mind to activate and align with intentional action. Environmental adjustments reinforce focus and prepare energy for sustained engagement. Incorporating movement, light, and sensory stimulation creates a seamless transition from sleep to active consciousness without relying on reactive behaviors like mindless scrolling or habitual checking of notifications. By controlling these early inputs, mornings become fertile ground for productive and meaningful action. Eliminating distractions before starting the day ultimately requires commitment and deliberate practice. Success is built on repetition, not sporadic effort. Each morning is an opportunity to strengthen control over attention, energy, and priorities. Every distraction resisted, every phone ignored, and every moment spent on intentional practice contributes to a foundation of discipline that compounds over time. The absence of distraction is not merely a lack of activity, it is the presence of focus, clarity, and power. Harnessing this enables individuals to move through the day with direction and purpose, making the most of every opportunity, responding to challenges with composure, and taking consistent steps toward meaningful success. In conclusion, mornings are too valuable to surrender to distractions, digital noise, or unstructured thought. By consciously eliminating interruptions, structuring time, managing environment and technology, and cultivating mental discipline, it becomes possible to start each day with energy, focus, and purpose. Each small step, turning off notifications, clearing physical clutter, anchoring the mind with intention, accumulates into a powerful force for action. The practice is neither complicated nor inaccessible. It requires commitment, foresight, and self-respect. Mornings designed this way become a training ground for personal mastery, teaching the mind and body that energy, focus, and productivity are achievable states. Distraction-free mornings allow for consistent progress, mental clarity, and resilience, ultimately creating a life where daily momentum translates directly into unstoppable success. Every day that begins with focus is a day in which potential is realized, actions are meaningful, and personal growth becomes inevitable. Number 3. Small habits build big momentum. Success is rarely the result of sudden dramatic leaps. Most breakthroughs occur because of small, consistent actions performed over time. These actions, often seemingly insignificant on their own, accumulate and create momentum that propels progress forward. Small habits are the hidden engines behind achievement, and understanding how to harness them is essential for anyone committed to personal growth and lasting success. Momentum is not built through force or sheer willpower alone. It is cultivated through deliberate, repeated behaviors that become second nature. Recognizing the power of these micro-actions is the first step toward transforming everyday routines into catalysts for extraordinary outcomes. Habits form because the brain seeks efficiency. Every repeated behavior becomes a neural pathway, making the action easier and more automatic with time. Starting with small, manageable habits ensures that the brain does not resist change due to overwhelm. When a habit is achievable, the likelihood of follow-through is dramatically higher, Even actions as simple as drinking a glass of water each morning, making your bed, or writing a single sentence in a journal initiate a cascade of benefits. These small victories create immediate psychological reinforcement, signaling competence and self-control. Each completed habit, no matter how minor, becomes a building block for larger, more complex behaviors in the future. The principle of compounding applies to habits in the same way it does to finances. One small positive action repeated daily produces far-reaching effects. Consistency matters more than intensity in the early stages, because the objective is to establish a pattern rather than achieve perfection. For example, reading 10 pages of a book every day may seem trivial, but over the course of a year, it accumulates into several completed books, expanding knowledge and perspective. Similarly, a 5-minute meditation daily gradually strengthens mental resilience, focus, and emotional regulation. When small actions compound over time, they generate results that are disproportionate to the initial effort. Momentum itself is a psychological phenomenon. Once small habits are consistently executed, the brain begins to anticipate action and rewards, creating an upward spiral of motivation and energy. Starting a day with even one intentional, productive habit primes the mind to continue acting purposefully throughout the day. It becomes easier to tackle larger tasks, maintain discipline, and resist procrastination because the mind is already engaged in positive behavior. This is why starting small is not only practical but strategic. Establishing momentum through manageable steps reduces resistance and builds confidence, reinforcing the belief that progress is both attainable and sustainable. A key aspect of building momentum through small habits is identifying which actions have the highest leverage. Not all habits are equally impactful. Choosing habits that directly influence your goals ensures that every small action serves a purpose. For example, a habit of reviewing daily goals each morning aligns energy with priorities. Journaling reflections on progress cultivates awareness and accountability. Physical movement, even brief stretches or a short walk, increases energy and cognitive clarity. Selecting high-leverage habits ensures that the energy invested in consistency produces meaningful returns, rather than being scattered on low-value actions that feel busy but offer little progress. The environment plays a significant role in supporting habit formation. Physical cues, such as placing a water bottle by the bed, keeping a notebook visible, or leaving workout clothes ready, trigger automatic behavior. Environmental design reduces the friction required to start a habit, making consistency more attainable. When the surroundings are aligned with desired actions, habits take root naturally, and momentum accelerates. Conversely, a cluttered, disorganized, or distracting environment increases resistance, saps willpower, and slows the accumulation of productive actions. Small adjustments to the environment create a cascade effect, reinforcing habits without reliance on sheer determination. Tracking progress is a powerful method to strengthen small habits and maintain momentum. Recording completion, noting time spent, or marking a calendar creates visible evidence of commitment. This visual feedback acts as a reward, reinforcing behavior and motivating continued consistency. When progress is observable, even incremental improvement becomes motivating. Tracking also highlights patterns, successes, and areas for adjustment. It transforms vague intentions into measurable outcomes, and measurable outcomes, no matter how minor, build confidence and a sense of control over one's life. Accountability amplifies the impact of small habits. Sharing intentions with a trusted individual or group creates external reinforcement that complements internal discipline. Knowing that someone else is aware of your commitment increases the likelihood of adherence. This does not require oversight or criticism. The simple awareness that progress is visible strengthens resolve. Accountability partners can also offer encouragement, celebrate successes, and provide perspective during challenges. Combining small habits with external accountability accelerates momentum and embeds discipline into daily life. Adapting habits strategically is also vital. Momentum is maintained by adjusting actions as circumstances change without abandoning the core principle of consistency. Life is dynamic, and rigid adherence without flexibility can create frustration or burnout. Small modifications, such as shifting a reading habit from morning to evening or altering the duration of exercise, preserve continuity while accommodating real-life demands. The focus remains on regular execution rather than perfection. This approach ensures that momentum remains unbroken and the psychological reinforcement of completed habits continues to accumulate. Emotion and reward systems play a subtle yet critical role in habit building. Each completed small habit generates a sense of accomplishment, however brief. Recognizing this accomplishment reinforces behavior, creating a positive feedback loop. Even minor rewards such as marking progress or taking a moment to acknowledge effort strengthen the neural association between action and satisfaction. Over time, the brain anticipates reward from habitual behavior, reducing resistance to future action. This reinforcement transforms small habits into automatic, almost effortless behaviors, amplifying momentum and freeing cognitive resources for more complex or challenging tasks. The principle of patience underlies the success of small habits. While instant results are rare, the cumulative effect of daily actions is profound. Progress is often invisible in the short term, which requires faith in the process and commitment to consistency. Trusting the compounding nature of small efforts allows persistence even when outcomes seem distant. Over months and years, these minor actions accumulate into significant achievements. What begins as a simple habit grows into a transformative practice, shifting identity, increasing capability, and producing lasting results that would be unattainable through sporadic or grand gestures alone. Integration of habits into daily routines ensures continuity and automaticity. Linking new habits to existing routines increases the likelihood of adherence. For example, taking a short walk immediately after breakfast or journaling right after making the bed leverages established behaviors as triggers. This method minimizes cognitive resistance, creating a seamless flow of productive actions. Over time, the routines themselves become anchors of discipline, generating momentum that extends beyond the morning or initial context into all areas of life. Small habits also foster resilience. Facing obstacles, fatigue, or unexpected challenges tests consistency. However, when momentum has been established through repeated small actions, the mind and body are conditioned to continue despite difficulties. The habit becomes a vehicle for perseverance. Even minimal progress maintains forward motion, preventing stagnation or demotivation. Momentum, once initiated, creates an internal gravity that carries effort forward, making it easier to overcome setbacks and continue toward goals without losing energy or focus. Ultimately, small habits are the foundation of sustainable growth. Momentum emerges naturally when actions are repeated with intention and consistency. Each micro-action, though minor in isolation, is a deliberate investment in capacity, discipline, and achievement. By focusing on manageable, high-leverage habits, tracking progress, leveraging environment and accountability, and maintaining patience, the momentum created by small habits compounds over time into substantial results. The cumulative effect transforms daily routines into mechanisms of power, energy, and personal mastery. Every individual has the capacity to harness the power of small habits. It begins with choosing one manageable action, committing to it, and executing it consistently. With each repetition, the brain adapts, behavior becomes automatic, and momentum grows. What starts as a minor adjustment eventually produces exponential returns, enabling progress in ways that are sustainable and profound. Small habits are deceptively simple but incredibly powerful. They turn intention into action, action into progress, and progress into lasting achievement. Through disciplined repetition, momentum is not only built, it becomes unstoppable. The journey to success is less about dramatic efforts and more about the steady accumulation of small, intentional actions. Each morning, each hour, and each decision offers an opportunity to reinforce habits, strengthen momentum, and create conditions for excellence. By embracing small habits and recognizing their compounding power, individuals unlock energy, focus, and productivity that surpass what can be achieved through sporadic effort alone. Momentum begins with small steps, and with consistent execution, it grows into a force that carries individuals forward, transforming potential into tangible, lasting success. Number 4. Mindset shifts defeat laziness daily. Laziness is rarely a matter of physical inability. It is a reflection of the mind's tendencies and the narratives we tell ourselves. Often the obstacle is not the task itself, but the interpretation we attach to it. Overcoming lethargy begins with understanding that thoughts shape action. A simple shift in perspective can transform hesitation into momentum. The way the mind perceives challenges, effort, and reward has a profound effect on energy, motivation, and consistency. Daily habits of the mind, even more than habits of the body, determine whether action occurs or stagnation prevails. Adjusting these internal frameworks is essential for anyone seeking unstoppable progress. The first step is recognizing that laziness is a signal, not an identity. Feeling resistance does not mean inability or weakness. It signals that the mind is evaluating effort versus reward. By reframing this perception, the mind becomes a partner rather than an adversary. When tasks are seen as opportunities for growth rather than burdens, energy naturally shifts toward engagement. The conscious acknowledgement that discomfort is temporary and purposeful provides mental leverage. Understanding the psychological mechanics of laziness allows you to disarm it, responding with intentional thought rather than reactive avoidance. A critical shift is embracing personal responsibility. Laziness often thrives when external factors are blamed for lack of action. Changing the internal narrative from "I can't because circumstances" to "I control my response" places power where it belongs. Accepting full ownership of choices, energy, and focus strengthens self-mastery. When the mind consistently operates from this position, excuses lose influence and effort becomes a natural expression of agency. Every day becomes an opportunity to exercise discipline and self-control, gradually training the mind to favor action over avoidance. Visualization is another potent tool for defeating daily lethargy. Mentally rehearsing the successful completion of tasks primes both body and mind to perform. The brain does not always distinguish between imagined and actual action in its neural activity, which means visual practice can reduce resistance when real effort is required. Seeing the day's priorities completed, imagining the satisfaction of accomplishment, and anticipating the benefits of effort creates a mental bridge from inertia to activity. This approach transforms abstract goals into tangible motivation that the mind can pursue without hesitation. Language shapes thought. The words used internally influence the mind's willingness to act. Phrases like "I have to" or "I should" evoke obligation and resistance, while statements like "I choose" or "I will" evoke empowerment and control. Deliberately adjusting self-talk daily reinforces agency and diminishes mental barriers. Every statement repeated in the mind either strengthens laziness or weakens it. The conscious selection of empowering language conditions the brain to favor movement, effort, and engagement, reducing the friction that normally slows action. Another mindset shift involves redefining failure and progress. Laziness is often reinforced by fear of imperfection or anticipated difficulty. Viewing progress as a continuum rather than a single perfect outcome encourages consistent effort. Even small steps, repeated daily, count as meaningful movement. By focusing on process rather than outcome, the mind shifts its orientation from avoidance to participation. Effort itself becomes the metric of success, making resistance less intimidating and action more inviting. Energy perception also plays a role. Many associate action with feeling energetic, yet waiting for ideal energy levels is counterproductive. Mindset shifts that prioritize action first, energy second, flip this expectation. Physical movement, early task completion, and engaging routines generate energy through action rather than the reverse. Momentum builds from small initial efforts, demonstrating that laziness is often a learned expectation rather than a reflection of actual capability. By acting despite perceived fatigue, the mind recalibrates its thresholds for engagement, making future resistance less potent. Time perspective is a subtle yet powerful mental adjustment. Laziness often arises when the mind focuses exclusively on immediate discomfort or delayed reward. Reorienting attention to long-term benefits while segmenting the day into manageable windows reduces mental friction. Recognizing that effort invested now compounds into greater freedom, competence, and satisfaction cultivates patience and persistence. Daily mental framing that links present action to future advantage strengthens the will to act, transforming resistance into deliberate participation. Self-awareness amplifies mindset shifts. Observing thoughts without judgment and recognizing patterns of avoidance allows proactive intervention. Keeping a mental or written log of moments when lethargy appears highlights triggers, recurring excuses, and emotional responses. This reflective practice transforms passive experiences of laziness into actionable insights. Awareness creates choice, and choice empowers action. By monitoring one's mental landscape, the brain becomes adept at identifying when it is drifting toward inactivity and redirecting focus toward productive behaviors. Setting intentional micro-goals each day leverages these mental adjustments. Breaking tasks into small, achievable pieces reduces the psychological weight of effort. The mind is more likely to engage when steps are clear, concise, and immediately actionable. Completing these micro-goals provides frequent reinforcement, validating effort and strengthening motivation. Daily accomplishments, even minor ones, produce a cascading effect, building confidence and momentum. The mind begins to anticipate success rather than dread activity, and laziness loses its foothold as progress becomes habitual. Gratitude and recognition further solidify mindset shifts. Noticing effort, celebrating small wins, and acknowledging progress reframes the perception of work from burden to opportunity. Positive reinforcement strengthens neural pathways associated with action, making engagement increasingly automatic. Each day's accomplishments, no matter how modest, are evidence of capability and resilience, reshaping the internal narrative that once supported avoidance. Gratitude for action itself shifts the mind's baseline expectation from passivity to participation. Mindset shifts also involve embracing discipline as a form of freedom rather than constraint. Laziness often masquerades as comfort, yet the comfort is fleeting, while the rewards of sustained effort are lasting. Understanding that self-control, routine, and deliberate action create autonomy over life circumstances reframes daily effort as empowerment. This perspective nurtures resilience, motivation, and mental clarity. Every disciplined choice reinforces identity as someone who acts with purpose, gradually transforming effort into instinct rather than struggle. Action planning is essential to embed these shifts. Writing down priorities, scheduling deliberate intervals for tasks, and establishing mental cues connect intention to execution. Mindset alone is insufficient without structured pathways to translate thought into behavior. By aligning mental reframing with tangible planning, the mind is guided toward activity, reducing opportunities for laziness to take hold. Clear structures transform abstract motivation into concrete outcomes, reinforcing the mental adjustments that underpin consistent effort. Consistency compounds these shifts. Daily practice of mental discipline, intentional reflection, and proactive engagement gradually reshapes the habitual landscape of the mind. Laziness diminishes not because it is forcibly suppressed, but because it is replaced by cultivated habits of thought and action. The cumulative effect of repeated mindset adjustments produces a stable foundation of resilience, focus, and initiative. Over time, the brain anticipates activity and aligns energy toward productivity naturally, reducing the need for external coercion or intense willpower. Mindset shifts defeat laziness by changing the internal calculus of effort and reward. When the mind views action as choice, growth, and opportunity rather than obligation, resistance declines. When progress is measured incrementally and every small action is recognized, inertia loses its grip. When awareness, self-talk, and reflection are actively applied, avoidance becomes conscious rather than automatic. Laziness is not eliminated overnight, but its influence wanes steadily as mental patterns are redirected toward engagement, discipline, and consistent effort. Ultimately, defeating daily laziness is a process of mental evolution. Each day is a chance to reframe perception, reinforce intentional action, and cultivate resilience. Small adjustments in thought patterns, language, focus, and perspective accumulate, producing profound behavioral shifts. Action becomes the default response, rather than the exception. Energy, motivation, and productivity rise because the mind is aligned with purpose, rather than drift. Through consistent practice, daily mindset shifts transform avoidance into engagement, hesitation into movement, and ordinary mornings into a launchpad for unstoppable progress. The process of reshaping thought and action creates a durable internal engine. Laziness is no longer the default state. It becomes a recognized obstacle to navigate, rather than a condition to accept. The mind is strengthened, disciplined, and primed for consistent achievement. Through deliberate reframing, visualization, self-awareness, and structured micro-goals, daily effort becomes habitual, intentional, and energizing. Each morning presents an opportunity to apply these shifts, reinforcing focus, building momentum, and steadily advancing toward long-term success. Mindset is the internal foundation upon which all action rests, and when cultivated deliberately, it defeats laziness, energizes effort, and transforms potential into consistent, measurable achievement. Number 5. Energy management over time wins. Energy is the silent currency that determines the quality, consistency, and impact of every action. Without proper management, effort becomes scattered, focus diminishes, and even the most determined individual can falter. Success is not simply about working harder or longer. It is about harnessing energy intelligently over time. People who accomplish extraordinary results understand that maintaining consistent energy levels, rather than relying solely on bursts of motivation, is the key to sustained achievement. Energy management is a discipline, requiring awareness, strategy, and deliberate action to ensure that peak performance is maintained throughout the day, week, and ultimately, a lifetime. The first principle of energy management is recognizing that energy is finite. Every choice, thought, and activity consumes a portion of mental, emotional, and physical capacity. Attempting to tackle high-demand tasks without regard for these limits leads to burnout and diminished effectiveness. Nutrition plays a foundational role in sustaining energy. The body requires consistent fuel to perform optimally. High-quality nutrition that balances macronutrients, micronutrients, and hydration ensures that energy levels remain stable. Skipping meals, consuming excessive sugar, or relying on caffeine as a crutch creates spikes, followed by crashes, undermining focus and performance. Planning meals with sustained energy in mind is not restrictive. It is strategic. Breakfast, in particular, sets the stage for the day, providing glucose for cognitive function and nutrients for metabolic stability. Adequate hydration is equally critical, as even mild dehydration can reduce alertness and cognitive efficiency. Small, thoughtful adjustments to eating habits compound into significant improvements in energy availability. Rest and recovery are equally crucial. Energy is replenished not only through nutrition, but through deliberate periods of rest. Sleep is the most obvious form of recovery, but micro breaks throughout the day also play a significant role. Even brief pauses, stretching or controlled breathing exercises help restore mental clarity and physical vitality. Scheduling these intervals ensures that energy does not become depleted, allowing consistent effort over time. Recovery should be viewed as an essential component of productivity rather than a luxury. Individuals who understand this create sustainable routines that maintain high performance without sacrificing well-being. Emotional energy is a less obvious yet critical component. Stress, unresolved conflicts, and negative thought patterns consume mental resources, leaving less capacity for productive action. Managing emotional energy involves recognizing triggers, regulating reactions, and cultivating mental clarity. Practices such as mindfulness, journaling, or intentional reflection allow the mind to process emotional input without draining operational energy. By maintaining emotional equilibrium, focus and initiative are preserved, reducing the likelihood of fatigue or procrastination. Emotional regulation is as much a skill as physical conditioning, and it contributes directly to the ability to sustain energy over extended periods. Physical activity is another cornerstone of energy management. Regular movement increases cardiovascular efficiency, oxygen delivery, and muscular endurance, all of which influence daily vitality. Even moderate exercise, when performed consistently, improves mental clarity and stress resilience. The goal is not necessarily intense workouts, but consistent activity that maintains a high baseline of energy. Movement also signals the body that action is required, creating momentum that carries into other domains of life. Over time, integrating movement into daily routines enhances the body's natural energy reserves, supporting both mental and physical output. Time management and prioritization are intertwined with energy strategy. Not all tasks demand equal effort, and misalignment between energy availability and task complexity leads to inefficiency. Scheduling high-impact, demanding work when energy is highest ensures that the brain operates at full capacity. Low-energy periods are best reserved for tasks that require minimal cognitive load. This approach maximizes output without exhausting reserves. By managing time in harmony with energy cycles, individuals create a sustainable pace that maintains performance and prevents burnout. Environmental factors also influence energy. Lighting, temperature, noise, and even workspace organization affect alertness and comfort. Environments that support focus and minimize unnecessary sensory input allow the mind to direct energy toward purposeful tasks. Adjusting surroundings to optimize concentration is a strategic investment in sustained performance. Subtle changes, such as positioning the workspace near natural light, using ergonomic setups, or reducing clutter, compound into measurable differences in energy expenditure and productivity over time. Mental clarity is closely linked to energy conservation. The brain consumes a significant portion of the body's resources, and multitasking or scattered focus accelerates depletion. Concentrated effort on single tasks conserves mental energy and improves output quality. Techniques such as batching similar tasks, eliminating unnecessary decisions, and focusing attention sequentially allow cognitive energy to be preserved and directed effectively. The less energy spent on indecision or distraction, the more remains available for meaningful action. This strategic allocation of mental resources amplifies results while maintaining sustainable effort. Strategic pacing reinforces energy longevity. Attempting to maintain maximum intensity at all times is unsustainable. Alternating between periods of high output and deliberate recovery prevents premature depletion. Understanding that progress is cumulative rather than instantaneous allows for more balanced approaches. Energy, like any resource, requires careful distribution to avoid burnout. Those who pace themselves wisely are able to sustain effort for longer periods, complete complex goals, and maintain consistency even in demanding circumstances. Habits and routines serve as energy multipliers. By automating essential tasks through consistent practice, less mental and physical energy is spent on decision-making. This frees capacity for higher-value activities. Morning routines, structured workflows, and standardized habits reduce friction, conserve willpower, and create predictability in energy expenditure. Over time, these routines create a foundation that allows high performance to occur almost effortlessly, leaving the mind and body ready for novel challenges. Attention management is another critical factor. Energy is finite, and dividing focus across too many stimuli reduces effectiveness. Prioritizing tasks, setting boundaries, and minimizing interruptions preserve energy for meaningful work. Every decision about what to attend to has an energy cost. By consciously directing attention toward high-impact activities and away from distractions, energy is preserved and utilized more efficiently. Discipline in focus is as essential as nutrition or rest in maintaining sustainable energy over time. Long-term energy management involves planning beyond a single day. Weekly, monthly, and annual cycles of work recovery and growth must be considered. High-intensity periods require adequate preparation and post-effort replenishment. Recognizing the importance of balance between exertion and restoration ensures that performance is sustainable over months and years, rather than collapsing under cumulative fatigue. Energy strategy is therefore both a short-term operational tool and a long-term sustainability practice. Ultimately, energy management over time wins because it prioritizes sustainability over immediacy. Those who treat energy as a strategic asset outperform those who rely on motivation alone. By understanding natural rhythms, balancing nutrition and rest, regulating emotional and mental states, structuring environments, pacing effort, and automating routines, energy is preserved and leveraged to maximum effect. The ability to maintain consistent focus and vitality distinguishes high achievers from those who burn out or stagnate. Daily practice of energy awareness, combined with actionable strategies for replenishment and allocation, creates compounding benefits. The accumulation of small, deliberate energy investments leads to greater output, resilience, and clarity. Every choice to align effort with energy, protect capacity, or recover intentionally strengthens the foundation for sustained achievement. Mastering energy over time is not a passive process. It is an active, deliberate practice that rewards patience, discipline, and foresight. By prioritizing energy management, work becomes more effective, decision-making improves, and obstacles are approached with greater capacity. Energy, carefully cultivated and strategically allocated, transforms potential into sustained results. Momentum is maintained without exhausting reserves, and progress becomes continuous rather than erratic. Those who embrace this approach understand that consistency, not sporadic bursts, is the hallmark of success. Managing energy over time is the decisive factor that allows individuals to operate at peak performance while maintaining balance, health, and clarity, ensuring that daily effort compounds into unstoppable achievement. Number 6. Plan tasks before sleep nightly. Planning tasks before sleep is a transformative habit that sets the stage for clarity, focus, and decisive action the following day. The hours before rest are more than a transitional period. They are an opportunity to prepare the mind for performance, reduce stress, and create a framework that transforms intention into accomplishment. When the day ends without intentional preparation for the next, the mind carries unresolved tasks, decisions, and uncertainties into sleep, fragmenting rest and diminishing energy for tomorrow. By taking time nightly to plan, priorities are clarified, mental clutter is minimized, and the brain is conditioned to move from reflection into action with minimal resistance. The effectiveness of planning before sleep comes from aligning mental processes with action. The human brain continues to process information during rest, subconsciously evaluating challenges, opportunities, and solutions. When tasks are outlined clearly before bed, this mental processing is directed purposefully. Ideas, priorities, and strategies are organized, allowing the subconscious mind to work on solutions, even while conscious effort pauses. The result is a sense of preparedness and mental ease upon waking, reducing hesitation and accelerating early-day productivity. Planning before sleep thus turns downtime into an active asset for performance, converting passive rest into strategic preparation. The first step is creating a concise and actionable list. Writing down specific tasks for the following day ensures that attention is directed toward meaningful objectives rather than scattered responsibilities. Vague intentions, such as work on projects or be productive, lack the precision needed to generate momentum. Instead, breaking tasks into distinct, manageable actions provides a roadmap that the mind can follow effortlessly. Each item acts as a cue for focus, signaling the next step and removing ambiguity. By establishing clarity, mental energy that might have been wasted on indecision is conserved and available for execution. Prioritization is critical in nightly planning. Not all tasks are equally important, and attempting to address everything simultaneously leads to overwhelm and inaction. Assigning priority to the highest impact tasks ensures that effort aligns with objectives that move progress forward. Ranking tasks in order of significance, urgency, or complexity creates a natural sequence for the day, allowing momentum to build from early successes. High-value activities tackled first harness peak energy and cognitive capacity, while lower-impact tasks can be scheduled for periods of reduced focus. This strategic sequencing prevents energy from being squandered and maximizes the return on effort. Time allocation is a practical extension of task planning. Estimating how long each action will take and scheduling dedicated periods for completion structures the day, preventing both under- and over-commitment. Allocating realistic time blocks reduces stress and creates boundaries that preserve energy. The act of committing to a timeline psychologically reinforces accountability, making it easier to start tasks promptly and maintain engagement. Time-blocked planning encourages efficiency by defining parameters for activity and reducing the likelihood of distraction or drift into low-value work. Nightly planning also strengthens mental resilience. Writing down tasks creates a separation between thought and action, allowing the mind to release worry or rumination about what needs to be done. This separation promotes deeper, more restorative sleep because unresolved obligations are no longer floating unstructured in consciousness. A calm, organized mind supports recovery, enhances cognitive function, and primes alertness for the next day. Sleep quality is directly influenced by perceived preparedness. The more structured the plan, the less mental friction exists during rest, which enhances energy, focus, and emotional regulation upon waking. A detailed plan provides a framework for accountability. When tasks are documented and reviewed nightly, progress can be tracked systematically. Observing completion patterns highlights strengths, identifies obstacles, and informs adjustments. This feedback loop reinforces discipline and self-awareness, increasing the likelihood of sustained action. Consistent reflection on outcomes and adherence to nightly plans transforms intentions into habits, gradually embedding reliability and consistency into daily routines. The act of reviewing progress also builds confidence, demonstrating that effort produces tangible results and reinforcing the brain's incentive to continue performing. Preparation includes anticipating potential obstacles. Identifying challenges in advance allows for proactive solutions rather than reactive scrambling. Recognizing which tasks might be difficult, resource-dependent, or time-sensitive enables preemptive planning, reducing the chance of disruption or delay. Including contingency strategies in nightly planning reduces stress and preserves mental energy, as the brain is not constantly diverted by unforeseen problems. This proactive approach to challenges strengthens adaptability, enhances problem-solving, and supports continuous momentum throughout the day. Planning tasks before sleep is enhanced by linking tasks to specific triggers or environments. Associating actions with time, location, or cues increases automaticity. For instance, setting a reminder to respond to emails immediately after morning coffee or arranging workout clothes for the first activity after waking creates conditions for seamless execution. These cues act as bridges between intention and action, reducing reliance on motivation alone. Over time, the brain forms strong connections between planned cues and behaviors, embedding habits that perpetuate efficiency and consistency. Nightly planning also reinforces clarity of purpose. Explicitly outlining tasks ensures that every action has meaning and contributes toward a larger objective. Random activity is replaced by intentional movement toward goals, enhancing satisfaction and reducing the mental fatigue associated with aimlessness. By defining what matters most before sleep, the mind enters rest with a sense of direction, and awakening becomes a continuation of focused effort rather than a search for purpose. This alignment of daily actions with broader goals fosters discipline, motivation, and long-term achievement. Incorporating reflection into nightly planning strengthens its impact. Reviewing what was accomplished during the day, acknowledging successes, and identifying areas for improvement enhances self-awareness and learning. Reflection informs planning for the following day, ensuring that adjustments are made based on experience rather than assumption. This iterative process improves efficiency, sharpens judgment, and cultivates a mindset of growth. Daily reflection combined with task planning creates a dynamic system of continuous improvement, ensuring that effort compounds over time. Nightly planning is not limited to professional or productivity tasks. Including personal health and self-care objectives ensures balanced energy allocation. Structuring time for rest, exercise, and personal development alongside work commitments prevents burnout and maintains consistent performance. When personal well-being is planned as deliberately as work, energy is preserved and distributed effectively. This holistic approach recognizes that human performance depends on integration of mind, body, and environment, and that comprehensive planning maximizes both output and vitality. Consistency is the force that transforms nightly planning into a powerful habit. Performing this practice daily builds neural pathways that automate organization, decision-making, and priority setting. The mind becomes accustomed to preparation as a default state, reducing resistance to action upon waking. Habitual planning creates momentum, as each evening's preparation fuels the next day's efficiency, which in turn reinforces the value of the routine. Over time, this compounding effect turns nightly planning into a self-sustaining mechanism for focus, energy, and productivity. Ultimately, planning tasks before sleep nightly is a cornerstone of disciplined living. It converts uncertainty into clarity, chaos into structure, and potential energy into directed action. By consciously preparing the mind, prioritizing objectives, allocating time, anticipating obstacles, and integrating reflection, the following day becomes a sequence of deliberate, high-impact actions rather than a reactive series of decisions. This habit not only strengthens efficiency and focus, but also improves mental clarity, emotional stability, and overall resilience. The practice of nightly planning ensures that every morning begins with intention rather than hesitation. Energy is conserved because choices are predetermined, mental friction is reduced, and momentum is ready to flow. By establishing this nightly discipline, long-term goals become achievable, daily productivity becomes reliable, and the mind develops the capacity to operate at peak effectiveness consistently. Planning before sleep transforms the night into a strategic ally, turning rest into preparation and laying the foundation for unstoppable progress, focus, and personal mastery. Number 7. Consistency beats motivation every morning. Motivation is fleeting. It rises and falls like the tide, unpredictable and dependent on circumstances that often cannot be controlled. Relying on motivation alone to create meaningful progress is unreliable and can lead to inconsistency, frustration, and stagnation. True progress, however, is built through consistency. Consistency is the disciplined repetition of purposeful actions, regardless of fluctuating emotional states, energy levels, or external conditions. It is the force that converts intention into tangible results and transforms small daily efforts into monumental achievements over time. Understanding and applying this principle changes the way mornings and every part of life are approached. Every morning presents a choice: act or postpone. Those who depend solely on motivation often wait for the ideal mood, energy, or inspiration to arrive. The problem is that such conditions are rarely perfect, and waiting inevitably leads to lost time and wasted potential. Consistency, in contrast, does not require ideal conditions. It demands commitment to perform the necessary actions, whether one feels inspired or not. This approach removes the unpredictability of motivation from the equation and replaces it with a reliable system of deliberate action. By committing to consistent routines each morning, productivity becomes habitual, less dependent on emotional states, and more aligned with long-term objectives. Consistency begins with establishing a clear and achievable morning routine. Defining specific actions to be performed each day eliminates ambiguity and reduces the mental energy required to decide where to start. A routine might include hydration, physical activity, goal review, or a focused work session. The key is that these actions are performed repeatedly without exception. Over time, repetition builds automaticity. The brain adapts, and the behaviors become ingrained patterns that require minimal conscious effort. This creates a foundation for sustained discipline, as momentum is no longer reliant on fluctuating motivation, but is instead driven by habitual execution. Small, consistent actions compound in ways that are often invisible at first. One day of effort may feel insignificant, and even a week may not produce noticeable results. Yet when actions are repeated consistently over months and years, the cumulative effect is extraordinary. Reading 10 pages each morning, practicing a skill for 20 minutes, or journaling for reflection might seem minor individually, but their impact accumulates into knowledge, mastery, and insight that surpasses sporadic bursts of effort. The principle of compounding ensures that daily consistency outweighs occasional motivation-driven intensity. Accountability reinforces consistency. Sharing intentions with oneself, a partner, or a peer group strengthens commitment and reduces the likelihood of skipping essential actions. Knowing that someone is aware of your goals adds a layer of external reinforcement that complements internal discipline. Tracking completion, even through a simple checklist or journal, creates visible evidence of progress. This reinforcement not only motivates continuation, but also conditions the mind to associate action with achievement, solidifying the habit and sustaining momentum through days when motivation is low. Consistency also reshapes self-perception. Performing necessary actions daily, even when motivation is absent, reinforces identity. Individuals begin to see themselves as disciplined, capable, and reliable. This identity-based reinforcement is more powerful than external rewards or emotional impulses because it aligns behavior with self-concept. Once the mind internalizes that certain actions are part of who you are, adherence becomes effortless. Mornings become predictable and productive because consistent action is no longer contingent on feeling inspired. It is an expression of character. The importance of simplicity cannot be overstated. Overly complex routines or excessive goals increase resistance and reduce the likelihood of consistent execution. Consistency thrives on simplicity and clarity. Identifying a few high-impact actions to perform each morning ensures that repetition is sustainable. These actions should be deliberately chosen to create momentum and align with long-term objectives. Complexity can be added gradually once consistency is established. The initial goal is to ingrain discipline into daily habits so that execution becomes automatic regardless of emotional state. Mindset shifts support consistent practice. Viewing action as non-negotiable rather than optional reduces procrastination. When the morning routine is framed as a fundamental part of achieving desired outcomes, skipping it is no longer seen as acceptable. This reframing reinforces the principle that progress is built on repeated execution rather than occasional inspiration. Consistency is therefore not merely a behavior. It is a mental commitment that transforms the way the mind prioritizes effort. Environmental structuring enhances adherence to consistency. Creating conditions that minimize friction and reduce the likelihood of deviation increases the probability of success. Preparing materials, setting up designated spaces, and eliminating potential distractions ensures that performing the routine each morning requires minimal effort. By aligning the environment with desired behavior, consistency is reinforced through physical cues and accessible resources. Repetition is easier when the surroundings naturally guide the mind toward action. Resilience is strengthened through consistent practice. Obstacles, fatigue, or competing demands inevitably arise. Motivation alone is insufficient to overcome these challenges. Consistency, however, allows individuals to persist despite discomfort or resistance. Repetition builds tolerance for difficulty and establishes a rhythm that carries action forward. Momentum develops as each completed morning routine reinforces confidence, resilience, and the expectation that effort is part of the daily standard. Over time, this resilience becomes self-sustaining, reducing reliance on motivation as a driver of performance. Consistency also enhances strategic thinking. Performing actions regularly provides ongoing feedback about what works and what does not. Daily repetition generates data on efficiency, effectiveness, and alignment with objectives. Adjustments can then be made incrementally, ensuring that progress is not only steady but intelligent. This iterative refinement strengthens both results and discipline, producing outcomes that surpass what motivation-driven effort alone could achieve. Energy management aligns with consistency. Performing essential tasks daily at predictable times allows the mind and body to anticipate action. Energy is allocated efficiently because routines reduce decision fatigue and uncertainty. The brain conserves resources for focus, creativity, and problem-solving rather than deciding when and how to act. This alignment ensures that momentum is maintained without reliance on fluctuating emotional or physical states, creating a reliable foundation for sustained achievement. The psychological benefit of consistency extends beyond task completion. Repeated action fosters a sense of control over life circumstances. Predictable routines reduce stress, increase confidence, and provide structure amidst unpredictability. Individuals experience a reinforcing cycle. Consistent action produces results. Results reinforce identity, and identity strengthens the commitment to continued repetition. Motivation becomes a supplementary benefit rather than a necessary driver, as discipline itself fuels progress. Persistence over time demonstrates that results are a byproduct of daily effort. Those who succeed are rarely those who wait for perfect conditions or peak inspiration. They are individuals who show up each morning, follow routines, and commit to repeated action regardless of immediate feelings. Consistency compounds into mastery, influence, and achievement. Motivation may fluctuate, but the system created through consistent practice guarantees forward motion and measurable outcomes. Ultimately, consistency beats motivation every morning because it decouples action from emotional states. Mornings become predictable, disciplined, and productive regardless of mood or energy. Small, repeated actions accumulate into significant results over time, creating a trajectory of growth that cannot be achieved by sporadic bursts of effort. Habits of consistent practice build identity, resilience, and momentum, forming a foundation for long-term success. Daily commitment to repeated action transforms ordinary routines into instruments of personal mastery, ensuring that progress continues steadily even when motivation wanes. Consistency is a decision to honor the process rather than rely on feeling. It is the recognition that meaningful outcomes are forged through repetition, persistence, and deliberate action. Each morning, each ritual, each repeated behavior reinforces competence, confidence, and capacity. By prioritizing consistency over motivation, mornings become a reliable launchpad for progress, energy is channeled efficiently, and small steps accumulate into unstoppable momentum. This principle ensures that every day, regardless of circumstance, is an opportunity to advance toward meaningful goals and cultivate lasting personal growth. Number 8. Body movement triggers mental alertness. The human body and mind are deeply interconnected, and movement is one of the most reliable ways to activate mental alertness. Physical activity is not just a tool for fitness or appearance. It is a catalyst for cognitive clarity, energy, and emotional stability. When the body is in motion, blood flow increases, oxygen is delivered to the brain more efficiently, and neural activity rises. These physiological changes stimulate focus, creativity, and decision-making capacity, making the mind sharper and more prepared for the challenges of the day. Engaging the body intentionally each morning, or throughout the day, is a powerful method to combat lethargy, energize the mind, and maintain consistent productivity. Movement triggers chemical responses in the brain that enhance alertness. Neurotransmitters such as dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin are released during physical activity, directly impacting attention, motivation, and mood. These chemicals reduce mental fatigue, improve concentration, and promote a positive outlook, creating a state in which the brain is primed for effective action. Even brief bouts of exercise, such as stretching, walking, or light calisthenics, initiate these chemical responses and generate noticeable improvements in clarity and mental engagement. Movement is a form of mental priming, preparing the brain to process information, solve problems, and execute tasks efficiently. Body movement also improves circulation, which is crucial for brain function. When the heart pumps more vigorously during exercise, oxygen-rich blood reaches the brain more rapidly, enhancing cognitive performance. Adequate blood flow supports memory retention, alertness, and the ability to make quick, accurate decisions. Regularly incorporating movement ensures that this circulatory benefit is not just momentary, but accumulates over time, improving overall mental resilience and stamina. The brain functions best when it receives a consistent supply of nutrients and oxygen, and physical activity is one of the most reliable ways to sustain this essential process. Movement reduces mental stiffness and inertia. When the body is sedentary for extended periods, the brain often mirrors this inactivity, producing sluggish thinking and diminished focus. Conversely, even short periods of intentional motion signal the brain that it is time to engage. The body acts as a cue for the mind. By stimulating muscular activity, neural pathways related to alertness, coordination, and problem-solving are activated. This connection underscores why physical routines, such as morning stretches, brisk walks, or a few minutes of jumping or dynamic movement, can immediately sharpen awareness and create momentum for the day. Physical activity enhances emotional stability, which directly impacts mental performance. Exercise reduces stress hormones like cortisol, decreases anxiety, and improves mood regulation. Emotional balance is critical for sustained alertness, as mental distraction or worry consumes cognitive resources. When the body is moved deliberately, the brain enters a state of equilibrium where attention can be focused on priorities rather than scattered across distractions or internal tension. The emotional benefits of movement make it easier to maintain energy, persist through challenges, and approach tasks with clarity and composure. The impact of movement on mental alertness is amplified when performed consistently. Small, repeated sessions build both physical conditioning and neurological responsiveness. Over time, the brain becomes conditioned to associate activity with wakefulness and focus. Regular movement trains the body and mind to expect engagement and responsiveness during and after exercise. This consistent association creates a dependable routine, making it easier to maintain high levels of mental acuity throughout the day. Momentum is generated because the body signals readiness, and the brain naturally follows. Variety in movement enhances cognitive stimulation. Engaging different muscle groups, balancing intensity, and varying types of activity challenge the brain in new ways. Complex or dynamic movements require coordination, balance, and attention, activating multiple regions of the brain simultaneously. These activities improve neuroplasticity, which strengthens the brain's ability to adapt, learn, and respond quickly to changing demands. Whether performing strength exercises, mobility routines, or aerobic activities, diversifying movement engages the mind as well as the body, creating a holistic approach to mental alertness. Even micro movements throughout the day contribute significantly. Standing, walking short distances, stretching periodically, or performing brief exercises between tasks prevents mental stagnation. The brain thrives on stimulation, and minor physical activity interrupts monotony while restoring focus. Micro-movements are particularly effective for those in sedentary work environments, where prolonged sitting can lead to fatigue, reduced attention, and slower problem-solving. These short interventions maintain a steady level of mental engagement and prevent the cumulative decline in alertness that occurs when the body remains static for too long. Intentional breathing exercises paired with movement enhance the mental benefits. Deep, controlled breathing increases oxygen intake, regulates heart rate, and improves neural efficiency. When combined with physical activity, breathing techniques amplify clarity, focus, and calmness. The interplay between motion and respiration signals the brain that the body is active, yet controlled, creating a state of readiness for cognitive and creative work. Mindful movement, even for a few minutes, strengthens the mind-body connection and reinforces the habit of using physical activity to trigger alertness. Movement also influences decision-making and problem-solving. Engaging the body increases cognitive flexibility and creativity, allowing novel solutions to emerge more readily. When the mind is activated through motion, it becomes more capable of generating ideas, evaluating options, and thinking critically. This effect explains why walking meetings, active brainstorming sessions, and physical routines integrated into workflow often lead to enhanced mental performance. The brain is not a separate entity from the body. When the body is stimulated, the mind operates at a higher level. The consistency of movement contributes to long-term neurological health. Regular activity improves memory retention, attention span, and executive function. These cognitive benefits accumulate over time, providing a durable foundation for mental alertness. Individuals who engage in consistent daily movement experience less cognitive decline, maintain sharper focus, and demonstrate increased problem-solving ability as they age. The long-term advantage of habitual movement reinforces why integrating physical activity is essential not only for immediate alertness, but for sustainable mental performance. Movement can be strategically paired with other alertness-enhancing practices. For example, performing physical activity before engaging in mentally demanding work maximizes the brain's readiness. Morning exercise, brief walks before critical tasks, or light stretching breaks during focused sessions ensure that the mind is primed for peak performance. By using movement as a tool to prepare the brain, productivity and focus are amplified without the need for extended periods of forced concentration. This approach makes effort more efficient and outcomes more predictable. Even subtle adjustments to posture and daily motion influence mental sharpness. Sitting upright, engaging core muscles, or shifting position while working activates neural pathways that prevent mental stagnation. Postural awareness signals alertness to the brain, counteracting drowsiness and promoting sustained attention. The principle is simple. The body's orientation and activity influence the state of the mind. Deliberate alignment between physical action and cognitive readiness ensures that alertness is maintained consistently throughout the day. In addition to individual benefit, movement fosters discipline, which in turn supports mental alertness. Establishing a routine of daily physical engagement reinforces consistency in other areas of life. When the body is regularly exercised, the mind internalizes patterns of commitment, follow-through, and intentional effort. This self-discipline carries into mental tasks, making focus, problem-solving, and sustained attention more reliable. Movement becomes a gateway habit that reinforces broader behavioral consistency, creating a virtuous cycle of energy, alertness, and achievement. Finally, the cumulative effect of integrating movement into daily life is profound. The body signals readiness, The brain engages fully, and tasks are approached with clarity, creativity, and stamina. Mental alertness is no longer sporadic, but consistent, sustained by physical activity, environmental cues, and deliberate routines. Action becomes sharper, focus becomes more precise, and energy levels remain higher throughout the day. By understanding and applying the principle that body movement triggers mental alertness, individuals unlock a dependable method to enhance cognition, elevate performance, and maintain resilience against fatigue and distraction. Number 9. Immediate action prevents procrastination trap. Procrastination is the silent barrier that prevents potential from transforming into achievement. It often masquerades as caution, planning, or waiting for the right moment, but its effect is consistent. Tasks are delayed, energy is wasted, and progress stalls. The antidote to this trap is immediate action. Acting promptly removes hesitation, leverages momentum, and creates psychological reinforcement that propels subsequent steps. When action is taken without delay, the mind shifts from indecision to engagement, bypassing the mental friction that fuels procrastination. Mastering the habit of initiating tasks immediately is a cornerstone of productivity, personal growth, and sustained success. The first element in overcoming procrastination is recognizing the subtle ways it manifests. It is not always blatant avoidance. Sometimes it hides in over-preparation, excessive planning, or focusing on trivial tasks while meaningful work is postponed. Immediate action counters these patterns by prioritizing execution over perfection. The moment a task is identified, acting on it even in a small, imperfect way trains the mind to favor doing over delaying. This principle is simple yet profoundly effective. Motion creates momentum, and momentum reduces the likelihood of stagnation. Decision-making is closely tied to procrastination. Indecision consumes mental energy and often leads to inaction. Immediate action circumvents this by turning intention into behavior before doubt can interfere. Even taking a minimal step, such as opening a document, drafting a single line, or initiating contact, triggers a cascade of follow-up actions. The psychological impact of doing something immediately reinforces competence and agency, making subsequent tasks easier to tackle. This approach transforms the abstract burden of procrastination into a tangible sequence of achievable steps. Time perception plays a crucial role in the procrastination trap. Delaying tasks often makes deadlines feel distant, which reduces urgency and allows distractions to dominate attention. Immediate action redefines time perception by creating instant progress and establishing tangible milestones. Starting now compresses perceived timelines and generates the psychological advantage of having begun. The brain interprets movement as accomplishment, which increases motivation to continue and reduces the stress associated with looming deadlines. This proactive approach eliminates the anxiety of delay and replaces it with constructive momentum. Breaking tasks into micro-actions enhances the effectiveness of immediate action. Large, complex objectives can feel overwhelming, triggering resistance and delay. By identifying the smallest possible step that moves a task forward and executing it immediately, the mind experiences instant progress. This strategy reduces mental barriers and fosters a sense of achievement that fuels continued effort. For example, instead of saying "write a report," starting with a single paragraph or bullet point activates momentum, transforms ambiguity into clarity, and sets the stage for sustained action. Physical initiation amplifies mental engagement. Moving, standing, or even repositioning oneself before beginning a task signals readiness to the brain and body. Action is not purely cognitive. The body responds to motion cues. Simple gestures like opening a file, walking to a workspace, or setting up necessary tools create tangible evidence that the task has started. These physical markers reinforce psychological commitment and strengthen the habit of immediate action. The more sensory engagement accompanies initiation, the harder procrastination becomes to maintain. Emotional factors are central to the procrastination cycle. Fear of failure, uncertainty, or imperfection often paralyzes effort. Immediate action neutralizes these emotions by replacing rumination with doing. When movement occurs, even tentatively, the mind shifts from avoidance to problem-solving mode. Each step reduces anxiety and builds confidence, demonstrating that progress is possible despite fear or doubt. Over time, repeated practice of immediate action reconditions emotional responses, transforming apprehension into motivation and decreasing the brain's tendency to stall in the face of challenge. Environment is a powerful ally in preventing procrastination. Preparing a workspace that minimizes distractions, organizes materials, and clearly signals readiness encourages prompt action. When the surroundings support efficiency, initiation requires less mental energy, reducing the friction that enables delay. Immediate action becomes easier when the environment is structured to facilitate the first step. Strategic placement of tools, elimination of irrelevant stimuli, and clear organization of priorities convert mental intent into behavior with minimal resistance. Ritualizing the moment of initiation strengthens the habit of immediate action. Establishing a simple, repeatable routine for starting tasks creates a neural pathway that links intention with execution. This might include a quick, deep breath, opening a document, or reviewing a single key objective. The predictability of the ritual reduces hesitation and conditions the mind to move automatically from planning to doing. Over time, these micro-rituals embed efficiency and ease into daily behavior, making immediate action the default response rather than a conscious choice. Accountability amplifies the effectiveness of prompt action. Sharing intentions with a colleague, friend, or mentor increases commitment and reinforces the urgency to begin without delay. Social reinforcement encourages follow-through and provides external confirmation of progress. Tracking small wins publicly or privately creates tangible evidence that tasks are moving forward. This reinforcement strengthens the habit of immediate action and diminishes the tendency to rationalize delay. Reflection after immediate action solidifies learning and momentum. Reviewing what was accomplished, however small, reinforces the psychological benefits of acting promptly. The mind associates the start of a task with reward, satisfaction, and progress, which reduces resistance for future tasks. Reflection also allows for incremental adjustments, ensuring that subsequent steps are smarter and more effective. This feedback loop transforms the initial impulse to act into a sustained pattern of proactive behavior, preventing procrastination from regaining influence. Consistency in immediate action compounds over time. Each day that tasks are begun without delay builds resilience, discipline, and confidence. The brain begins to anticipate movement as the default, reducing the energy needed to overcome inertia. Momentum accumulates as small actions connect, creating visible progress that motivates further action. This cumulative effect demonstrates that the habit of immediate initiation is more powerful than intermittent bursts of motivated effort. Progress becomes predictable, measurable, and self-reinforcing. Procrastination is also tied to overthinking. Deliberation beyond what is necessary consumes energy, increases stress, and delays execution. Immediate action interrupts this cycle. By acting before over-analysis can occur, the mind is engaged in productive processing rather than hypothetical scenarios. Once motion has begun, the brain shifts from theoretical assessment to practical application, naturally reducing unnecessary cognitive load. This approach balances thoughtful planning with decisive execution, minimizing the paralysis that overthinking produces. Urgency, when artificially created, enhances the habit of immediate action. Setting self-imposed mini deadlines or quick start rules forces initiation, even if the overall deadline is distant. Imposing a 5-minute window to begin a task compels engagement and counters the brain's inclination to delay. These artificially structured urgencies mimic the natural pressure of real deadlines, priming focus and accelerating execution. Over time, these tactics become internalized, making the start of tasks instinctive rather than optional. The habit of immediate action ultimately transforms mindset. The individual begins to identify as someone who responds decisively, solves problems actively, and does not defer responsibility. This identity shift reduces the need and justification for procrastination, making action the natural response. Motivation becomes supplementary rather than essential, as the self-concept drives behavior independently of emotional fluctuations. Immediate action becomes an ingrained part of personal character, creating consistency, accountability, and reliable productivity. Finally, immediate action produces cascading momentum. Each task begun generates energy, clarity, and a sense of accomplishment that spills into subsequent activities. Procrastination loses power as the mind is conditioned to act first and evaluate later. Over time, the cumulative effect of repeated immediate initiation builds discipline, reinforces self-trust, and creates a habit of relentless progress. The simple principle of starting now rather than waiting becomes a foundation for efficiency, focus, and long-term success. Immediate action prevents the procrastination trap because it transforms intention into behavior before hesitation can interfere. It leverages momentum, enhances focus, reduces stress, and strengthens the identity of someone who acts decisively. Each small step compounds, leading to consistent progress, sustained energy, and a productive rhythm that cannot be replicated through reliance on fleeting motivation. By making the practice of immediate action habitual, procrastination is neutralized and the pathway to accomplishment is cleared, creating a consistent pattern of high performance, personal growth, and achievement. Number 10. Rewards reinforce productive daily habits. Productivity is sustained not only through discipline, but also through reinforcement. Habits form and solidify when actions are consistently paired with positive consequences. Rewards, when used strategically, serve as powerful motivators that encourage repetition, increase satisfaction, and make productive behaviors more likely to become automatic. They create a psychological association between effort and positive outcomes, training the brain to seek accomplishment and improvement. Incorporating rewards into daily routines enhances consistency, strengthens habits, and turns intentional effort into a cycle of reinforcement that compounds over time. Understanding the role of rewards requires recognizing the brain's natural response to positive stimuli. When an action leads to a desirable outcome, the brain releases neurotransmitters such as dopamine, which generates feelings of pleasure, satisfaction, and motivation. These chemical responses do more than create temporary enjoyment. They imprint the behavior into neural pathways, making it more likely to be repeated. By pairing productive tasks with tangible or meaningful rewards, the brain interprets effort as beneficial, reinforcing consistency and reducing resistance to challenging or repetitive work. Rewards do not need to be extravagant to be effective. Even small, immediate acknowledgements of effort can reinforce habit formation. For example, completing a morning routine might be rewarded with a cup of favorite tea, a short walk outside, or a few minutes of leisure reading. The key is timing. Immediate recognition strengthens the connection between action and reward, making the behavior more likely to recur. Over time, these small reinforcements compound, building a reliable pattern of productivity and satisfaction that supports long-term personal growth. Strategic use of rewards also helps combat mental fatigue and stress. Consistently performing demanding tasks without acknowledgement can lead to burnout and diminished motivation. By integrating deliberate rewards, the mind perceives effort as balanced with positive outcomes, reducing stress and increasing resilience. The knowledge that a reward follows effort provides psychological relief, making challenging actions more approachable and reinforcing perseverance. This creates a sustainable system in which productivity does not become burdensome, but is instead accompanied by encouragement and satisfaction. Rewards can be tailored to reinforce different aspects of daily habits. Some rewards enhance pleasure, such as enjoying a favorite activity, listening to music, or indulging in a treat. Others strengthen accomplishment, such as checking off a task list, reviewing progress, or noting improvement over time. Both forms contribute to habit reinforcement by satisfying different motivational pathways in the brain. Pleasurable rewards generate immediate gratification, while acknowledgement of progress fosters intrinsic motivation and long-term commitment. Combining these approaches creates a balanced reinforcement system that addresses both emotional satisfaction and personal growth. The habit of rewarding productive behavior also promotes accountability. When actions are linked to outcomes, individuals are more likely to follow through on commitments. Seeing tangible benefits from consistent effort establishes a clear connection between behavior and results. This accountability enhances focus, reduces procrastination, and encourages intentional effort. Over time, the brain internalizes this association, making productive action itself rewarding, even in the absence of external incentives. The initial rewards serve as training tools, eventually transitioning into intrinsic satisfaction derived from the habit itself. Rewards are particularly effective when applied in incremental stages. Breaking large goals into smaller manageable tasks and providing reinforcement at each step ensures continuous motivation and momentum. This approach prevents overwhelm and maintains engagement over time. Each completed action delivers a sense of progress and satisfaction, reinforcing the next step in the sequence. By structuring effort in stages with corresponding rewards, productivity becomes a series of achievable milestones rather than a single daunting challenge, which enhances consistency and prevents mental fatigue. Self-awareness enhances the effectiveness of rewards. Understanding personal preferences, motivators, and responses to reinforcement allows for the selection of meaningful and impactful incentives. What excites or motivates one person may not have the same effect on another. Customizing rewards ensures that reinforcement is psychologically resonant, increasing the likelihood of habit formation. Individuals who align rewards with their own values, desires, or sources of enjoyment create a system in which productive behavior is not only sustainable but genuinely satisfying. Pairing rewards with reflection deepens their impact. Taking time to recognize and appreciate completed tasks, rather than moving immediately to the next obligation, reinforces the significance of effort. Reflection creates mental and emotional acknowledgement, strengthening the brain's association between productive behavior and positive experience. Journaling, reviewing accomplishments, or simply noting achievements mentally ensures that the reinforcement is internalized. This habit amplifies motivation, builds self-esteem, and encourages continued commitment to consistent action. Immediate and consistent reinforcement shapes long-term behavior. When productive actions are repeatedly paired with rewards, they become ingrained in daily routines. The mind begins to anticipate satisfaction following effort, reducing resistance and increasing willingness to engage in challenging or repetitive tasks. Over time, the behavior shifts from requiring external reinforcement to becoming intrinsically motivating. The habit is no longer dependent on novelty or excitement. The act itself becomes satisfying. Reward systems thus transition from external motivators to internalized drivers of consistency and focus. Rewards also enhance creativity and innovation. Knowing that effort is acknowledged encourages risk-taking, experimentation, and problem-solving. Individuals are more likely to explore new approaches, tackle complex challenges, or engage deeply with work when positive reinforcement is anticipated. This psychological security promotes sustained engagement, reduces fear of failure, and fosters adaptability. Rewarding productivity in ways that recognize initiative and creativity encourages behaviors that extend beyond routine tasks, leading to continuous improvement and higher levels of achievement. Deliberate planning of reward systems ensures they are effective rather than counterproductive. Rewards should be proportionate to effort, timely, and aligned with the desired habit. Excessive or delayed rewards can diminish effectiveness, while rewards that undermine goals, such as indulgences that reduce energy or focus, can negate the benefits of productive action. Strategic reinforcement maintains balance, ensuring that rewards motivate rather than distract, and that they support overall objectives rather than undermine them. Social and external recognition amplifies the effect of rewards. Sharing achievements with peers, mentors, or accountability partners adds a layer of validation and encouragement. Recognition from others satisfies social and psychological needs, reinforcing productive behavior. Public acknowledgement, whether through discussion, social media, or professional settings, strengthens the perceived value of effort and motivates repetition. The combination of internal satisfaction and external validation creates a robust reinforcement system that strengthens habit formation and consistency. Over time, the principle of rewards reinforces not only specific behaviors, but also mindset. Individuals develop a habit of valuing effort, recognizing progress, and appreciating the connection between action and outcomes. Productivity becomes intrinsically linked with satisfaction, creating a positive feedback loop that sustains focus, discipline, and engagement. The habit of rewarding effort encourages self-respect, confidence, and resilience, all of which contribute to long-term achievement. Incorporating rewards into daily life transforms routine actions into opportunities for reinforcement and growth. Even small, deliberate incentives strengthen habits, build momentum, and promote consistency. The act of pairing effort with meaningful outcomes trains the mind to seek productivity naturally, reducing reliance on external pressure or fluctuating motivation. By embedding rewards into daily routines, individuals create a sustainable framework in which positive behaviors are continuously reinforced, leading to persistent improvement, self-discipline, and the achievement of long-term goals. Strategically designed rewards ensure that productivity becomes both effective and enjoyable. They guide behavior, reinforce effort, and create a positive association with accomplishment. By recognizing and celebrating progress, momentum is maintained, habits are solidified, and performance is enhanced. Over time, this approach cultivates intrinsic motivation, allowing productive actions to become self-reinforcing and automatic. Rewards, thoughtfully applied, are not indulgences. They are essential tools for habit formation, mental clarity, and sustained achievement. The consistent use of rewards establishes a feedback system that reinforces productive behavior, strengthens focus, and amplifies momentum. It transforms effort into a source of satisfaction, links action to positive outcomes, and conditions the mind for consistent engagement. By integrating reward systems into daily routines, Habits solidify, energy is focused efficiently, and productivity becomes reliable. The practice ensures that progress is celebrated, reinforced, and repeated, creating a durable cycle of achievement, motivation, and self-improvement that compounds over time. Rewards reinforce productive daily habits because they convert effort into positive feedback, strengthen neural pathways for consistency, and build momentum that makes action habitual. Through strategic, meaningful, and timely reinforcement, productivity is sustained, discipline is deepened, and long-term success becomes inevitable. When effort is consistently paired with reward, action becomes natural, habits solidify, and the path to personal mastery is firmly established.